Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of the Victorian Studio podcast. My name is Maureen, and I'm coming to you from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, on Monday, February the 15th, 2016. Welcome to all new and returning viewers. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me today in the studio. I hope you enjoy seeing what I have to share, which includes some knitting, some spinning, dyeing, and some new acquisitions that have arrived over the last couple of weeks. Well, today is a stat holiday. It's called Louis Riel Day here in Manitoba. I know some of the other provinces in Canada call it different things. Some call it Family Day. But Louis Riel was one of the founding fathers of Manitoba. So a few years back, they started this holiday and named it after him. It also coincides with a festival that's held every year called Festival des Voyageurs. It's a French-Canadian festival with snow sculptures and dog sledding and dancing and bands and all kinds of activities for both kids and adults. So it's a very popular winter festival here in Manitoba. So I thought today was a good day to record instead of yesterday being Valentine's Day. I hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day. We certainly did. It was very low-key. Hubby got me some beautiful roses, as you see in the back here. He also got me a gift certificate for our local yarn shop, Wolseley Wool. So daughter and I have already been and picked up a few goodies that I'll share with you a little bit later. So, I hope everybody, like I say, had a great Valentine's Day. What I wanted to do before I got into the knitting is share with you some vintage and antique Valentines that I've collected over the years. As you can see, a lot of my studio is filled with antiques, and some of the things that I'd like to collect are ephemera, and that is paper goods from the past. So I wanted to share with you some of the Valentines that I've collected. Now, what I noticed with a lot of these Valentines is that they are printed in Germany. Now, many years ago, I guess they had good quality printing in Germany for a lot of these paper goods. So even though they are English on the front, I notice on the back a lot of them do say that they are printed in Germany. So I really like some of these antique Valentines because a lot of times they had little areas that moved. And this one I know it has a notch here, so I'm sure there was another half to this Valentine that maybe had a little girl sitting at the table as well, but that's very cute. And I picked these up at, various antique shops and things like that. And a lot of the German Valentines were three-dimensional, like this one here. It folds out so that it's kind of 3D. And this one says, "To my sweetheart." And it's very delicate, so you have to be very careful with the mechanisms, of course, being so old. This one was inscribed to Arnold, and it's from Lenore. So it's very, very cute. Here's another one that's 3D as well. It's very old. And this one just says, "Sincerely, Clara." And again, it's a German Valentine from many years ago. And that one says, "To my Valentine." So, yeah, I have to be very, very careful with these. They're very delicate. This one is an old car. I love that as well. The graphics on these are so pretty. And you can sometimes tell, the years of them from the graphics that are on them. This one looks a little bit newer, maybe from the 30s with that little boy's cap. And this one is actually made in the US. And it says, "Anyone can plainly see my teacher is okay with me. Be my Valentine." I thought that was very cute with the little puppy dog as well. And another one from probably about that same era. It's a cartoon one. And it looks like the comics from years gone by. This just simply says Arnold on the back. So I don't know if he was the sender or the receiver. It says, "Some girls don't like men at all. I'm glad I'm not that way, 'cause then I wouldn't have you for my Valentine today." So that's very cute, comic styled vintage Valentine. This is actually a postcard, not specifically a Valentine, but I thought it was appropriate for Valentine's Day because it says, "Let me know when I can renew your acquaintance." And it's actually a postcard. And again, this one was also printed in Germany, and it's also inscribed with some names that look like they could be German as well. So it's really pretty embossed card, so very appropriate. And I also love the Valentines that move, and this one is very cute. It has a couple of goats that move in. They move back and forth, so they're very cute. So this one says, "Loving thoughts to my Valentine." Oh, I remember this one is, yeah, you pull the lever this way. Butting heads. So I thought that was cute as well. And the last one that I wanted to share with you was a really pretty Valentine with movement again, but it also has a clear window on it, and when you move the lever, the two people come together. So I thought that was cute, a cute couple that have that movement. And it says, "From Mama, Daddy, and Henry." And that one says, "With this token I impart all the love that's in my heart. Cupids bring you my decree. You're the only one for me, to my Valentines." So but that was really cute. So I hope you enjoyed seeing some of those vintage and antique Valentines today. And I hope you had a great Valentine's Day as well. So let's see, let's get to the knitting. Over the last couple of weeks, I did get a fair amount of time to work on my knitting. I also finished a couple of projects, which was good. The first one I'll share with you today is my hooded hat and scarf combo. Now this is a design of my own, using a couple of other patterns that I kind of borrowed from. So I had to move it to my large bag here. Make sure I don't knock anything over here. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've been actually using this Fox bag for my larger projects. This is a bag I got a while ago at Anthropologie, I believe it was, but it's perfect for large knitting projects. So what I did was, when I started this project, I used two patterns that I found on Ravelry. First one was Laura and the Wolf, and that inspired me to use a wolf pattern around the colorwork portion of the hat. So using this design as kind of a starting point, I then went on to design my own wolf with a little more detail for my hat. Now what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a hat for myself for winter time that wasn't so tight around my head, like a tight beanie or other type of hat. What I wanted was more of a hood in the style of one that I used to have. I believe hubby got me many years ago. It was basically one long scarf that was attached down the middle, so it created a hood, and then both ends you just wrap around like a scarf, and it was so comfortable and so nice. It didn't mess up your hair, and very, very warm. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try knitting myself one. So I found this Drops design on Ravelry as well. It was a free pattern, but I didn't really like the pointed tip to that design, but I did like the way the hood was styled, so I used that as my starting point when I started to knit. And instead of doing tassels down on either side, I thought I would just add two scarves. So I used that to design the main part of the hood, and then you can see all my little chicken scratches all over this page. As I went, I wrote down what I did and how I did it, so I will add that to my project page. I haven't done that yet, but I'll just record how I did this because it was very, very simple. But basically, after I did the hat part, which I've shown before, I went on to make both sides of the scarf and attach those. So as I said, I got it finished. Now before I show you, I made it out of some yarn that I had purchased last year for my teapot cozy. And this is Loops and Threads undyed wool. So I used the Ecru, the natural, and the brown, and I also used a little bit of what they call gray for the wolf's head as well. So using those 4 colors, I created first of all the hood part of this and did the color work around the hood with the wolf heads. And then I continued just the background of that pattern down each side for the scarf. So this is very nice and loose around my head. Actually, I'll insert a picture here of the hat on my glass head so you can see how it looks. And what I did was I made sure that the back of the color work was covered also with the regular stockinette stitching. I just folded over my knitting and then tacked it down so that the back of the color work didn't show, and it also made it a better size for me as well. Then I Kitchenered the back, decreased it a little bit so it wouldn't be a pointy top, and then did both sides of the scarf separately and then attach them on. So they're very, very long, so it's wonderful for our cold winters. I'll be able to wrap this around myself quite a few times and keep it nice and warm this winter. So I'm glad to have that done. I'll be able to wear that this winter already. So that was a fun project to just kind of, figure out as I went. So that was a lot of fun just to do it that way. So as I mentioned, I will write down how I made that if anybody else wants to try it. I don't know if they do. But yeah, I really enjoy wearing that style because it's nice and loose and it's very, very warm. So that was great to have that project completed this week. So for that, I used size 9 US needles or 5.5 millimeter. And I have to measure how much exactly I used of each skein because I haven't done my weighing the skeins out yet. So I'll add all of that to my project page and link that in my show notes. So the next thing that I did was a project I've started since the last episode, so you haven't seen it at all. It was a cowl that I wanted to make out of my own hand-dyed yarn. So this is the first project that I've ever done using that yarn. If you've been here before, you know that I've recently played around with dyeing my own yarn. So I got some Cascade 220 from Webs and at a really good price. So I've been practicing with that. And one of my first skeins that I did was in pinks and reds, and I called it Cinnamon Hearts, I think. I'll insert a picture of the skein of yarn here. And it was created using some Landscapes dyes from Australia. So I was really pleased with how this turned out, and it did remind me of Valentine's Day and the cinnamon hearts that you have at Valentine's. And so I thought, well, it'd be great if I could get something done before Valentine's Day using this yarn. So I did, and I have it here in my little lion bag. And I found a very simple cowl pattern on Ravelry. Again, it was a free pattern called the Spiral Cowl. And I used this pattern because it was considered really easy, but also because the slip stitches made this really cool spiral pattern. And I always go to the project pages before I start a project, and somebody there had a really great hack for this pattern. Now, the author of the pattern, goes through details of how to continue the spiral by placing markers and moving markers and that kind of thing. But somebody came up with a genius solution of if you just cast on one extra stitch, the spiral actually continues on without having to move anything. So what I did was I used some of my new Carbons needles and a short cable, so I was able just to knit in the round all the way around and continued on, and didn't have to worry about all of that, finagling of markers and that. So if you do the spiral cowl, make sure you check those project pages. I will actually list it on my project as well, how I did it. So the pattern starts off with a picot edge, which is very easy to do, and you just it's just with yarn overs and that, and then you hem it up inside the inside to create that nice finished edge. And here's the finished cowl. So I was able to finish it in just a few days. It also has a picot edge top to it. So I had to make sure that when I was knitting it, that I left myself enough yarn to both finish the picot edge and to tack it down on the inside as well. So I played yarn chicken because I have just this much left. It's not even enough left for a yarn blanket or anything like that. I'm not that I'm doing one, but maybe I'll use this for keychain or something like that. I know some people hang these off of a ring on a keychain. So that's what's left of my hand-dyed yarn. But what I really liked about this pattern was the slip stitches, if you can see, also remind me of hearts. So I thought they were really, really nice in this pattern. So I really like the way my own hand-dyed yarn came out in this cowl. So also the author of the pattern mentioned that you can also add a button to one side if you want to fold it down and make it a tighter cowl around your neck, because it is fairly loose. But I really love the way it turned out. It was so easy to do, so really, really easy. Same pattern over and over and over again until you're basically out of yarn. So yeah, my first time using my own hand-dyed yarn. So that was a nice project to start and finish over the last few days. So that's the two projects that I completed. I also had a few projects that I'm continuing to work on. And the first one is my Roosevelt cardigan. I finally got back to it. I think I've been avoiding it because I'm at the point now where it's going to get a little more complicated, and I think subconsciously I've been avoiding it. But I did carve out some time yesterday to work on it. And Sarah over at Fiber Trek, who is doing the Shackleton knit along, she mentioned on Instagram earlier today, I believe, that it's actually Shackleton's birthday today. He was born in 1874 on February the 15th. Now, Ernest Shackleton is an Antarctic explorer. He actually did 3 voyages to the Antarctic, and the one that he is most famous for is for when his ship actually sank. But he did bring home all of his crew alive. So her knit-along is named the Shackleton Epic Knit-along because it was an epic journey for him, and we are supposed to do a project that is epic for us. And for me, it's this cardigan because it's been taking so long. It's my first real actual piece of clothing that I've been knitting, that, you know, I have to be careful with the sizing and that kind of thing. I mean, hats, mitts, gloves, those kind of things are easy to do when you don't have to worry about so much detail and getting your gauge and having it fit properly. So for me, this is definitely epic. And I'll, in my show notes, I will put a link in for Ernest Shackleton on Wikipedia, so you can read more about his life. So it was very, very interesting life. And so for Sarah at Fiber Trek's Knit Along, I have to update my entry for the project pages on there. It seems like there's so many cowls going on right now. I really need some kind of way to keep track of all these cowls. That pink cowl, I could probably enter into a couple of knit-alongs. I know my sweater would be eligible for some knit-alongs. Not that I want to win a bunch of prizes, but it's great to enter into these knit-alongs and see what other people are doing, and kind of get some feedback on your projects as well. So I really need a calendar, and I've been trying to think of the best way to do that, either on my phone or my calendar's on the computer, or maybe on each pattern I have to write down what kind of cals I could enter these projects into, because it seems like I leave a lot of them that I could enter into these cals and have some fun sharing with others. So I definitely need to figure something out, because I think right now there's at least half a dozen that I could be entering. And I know Mina on the Knitting Expat podcast is doing this year a whole list of cals, with their start and end dates and that kind of thing, and links, I believe, to each of the groups that the cals are running in. So I have to take a look at that as well. So back to my Roosevelt cardigan. It is, if you've been here before, you've seen before, it's a pattern by Amanda Schusker, and this is an interweave pattern. So I really wanted to make this because I just love the cables in it. And I had 10 balls of the Wensleydale Sheep Shop long wool yarn, and this is number 7. I have 3 left after this one, so I still have plenty, but I have gone through a lot. I've already done the sleeves to the cardigan, so I don't need to show those, but I am finally at the point where I'm going to be attaching the sleeves and decreasing for the neck. It seems like I was at the same point for such a long time. In the instructions it says to knit until you're 17 inches from the cast on. So, a little while ago I measured and I was really close, so I did a little bit more. I was still a little bit close, but not quite at 17, and then I knit some more, and then I still wasn't at 17. I think I was stretching it too much. So what I did was, this weekend, I made sure that I didn't stretch it at all when I was measuring it, because I have a long waist, so I would rather have this too long than too short. But I'm finally at the 17, or a little bit more than 17 inches, finally, with this. So here's the marker from the last time you saw it. I have done a few inches. So this is the whole body of the cardigan. The front with the cabled pockets, cables running up either side, ribbing on the bottom of the back with stockinette on the back, and then again on the other side, another pocket with the beautiful cables and the cables running up the front. So, as I said, I am at the point where I can start the instructions for the decreases, for the neck, and getting ready to attach the sleeves. So it's kind of daunting for me, as I've never done anything like that before. So hopefully it goes well, but it's just knitting, right? I can always undo it if I screw up. But yeah, at least I've now officially gotten to that point, and looking forward to tackling the next part of my epic journey. So yeah, I'll continue to plug away at that. So let's see, for the Roosevelt I'm using US size 6 needles, or that's 4mm needles, and I'm using my Dreams needles for that, so I really enjoy using those as well. Let's see, the next thing that I wanted to share with you was something that I just started since the last episode, and that's for another knit along at the Bakery Bears podcast. Both Dan and Kay had on their last episode an announcement that they wanted people to pick their favorite Muppet and then create something using the colors of their Muppet. So I've been a long viewer and lover of the Muppets, the Jim Henson Muppets, and grew up with them, really. In the 70s especially, the Muppet Show was, I thought, very entertaining, and I really love Kermit the Frog, so I knew I had to choose him as my Muppet. but not just any plain old Kermit the Frog. I chose Kermit Skywalker, and I'll insert a picture here. This is Kermit the Frog as the Star Wars character Luke Skywalker, and I chose him because I remember watching The Muppet Show in the late 70s, early 80s, when they had Mark Hamill on Pigs in Space, one of the skits that they do in The Muppet Show. And if I can, I'll insert a clip from that when he, C-3PO, and R2-D2 were on. So, of course, me being a Star Wars lover, I had to choose this version of Kermit. And just as luck would have it, one of the yarns that I dyed a few weeks back was the perfect color combination to do for this project. So, of course, I had to choose the proper bag for this project. And the one I chose was a bag that I got when I visited Skywalker Ranch back in 2005. I was lucky enough to be part of an online web staff from rebelscum.com. We were invited to Skywalker Ranch, and we had a tour, and we also assisted in the setup of a museum out there called Rancho Obi-Wan. So we were out there for a few days, and it was by far the highlight of the trip was the going to Skywalker Ranch, because not everybody can visit. Very few people are allowed into Skywalker Ranch. And if you're a fan of Big Bang Theory, you would know that. An episode that they did. And it was funny, I was going through my pictures of Skywalker Ranch, and I realized that episode of Big Bang, either they reproduced it very closely or they were actually at the security gate of the Skywalker Ranch, because when I was going through my pictures, I realized that the security booth, the little house that they have there, was very, very similar to the one in my pictures. And the one in my pictures I took as we were exiting Skywalker Ranch. So it's the back of the security booth, but it looked surprisingly similar. So at the end of this podcast, I'm going to insert some pictures from Skywalker Ranch and those pictures to show you that. I thought that was pretty cool. But we were very, very lucky. As I say, not everyone gets to visit Skywalker Ranch. It's invitation only. And we were there just as the staff were getting ready to move to the Presidio in San Francisco. So we got a full tour of the area with the sculpture garden, and we saw Lake Ewok and Skywalker Sound, and we were in George's library and saw some of his collection, even collectibles from Raiders of the Lost Ark. We weren't allowed to take pictures inside the main house, which is George's office, but we were allowed to take some pictures outside. So as I said, I'll add those to the end of today's episode if you'd like to see pictures from Skywalker Ranch. So my project for my Muppet Along is in this bag, and my hand-dyed yarn that I chose was this green, brown, and ecru color, which I thought was perfect. It's the green for Kermit, and the brown and the ecru for his Jedi robes. So I thought that was very appropriate. And so I got started on my project, and what I did was I chose a free pattern. It's some fingerless mitts, and I'll share that pattern with you in a second, but I did want to show you the very special stitch marker that I'm using. That's from my collection. It's a necklace from 1978 of R2-D2. His legs move, and it's one of a pair. I also have C-3PO, and his arms and legs also move, but that even though he was a little big, I just added a couple of jump rings, and I'm using him as a stitch marker for this project. Now, the pattern that I chose was called Optimistic Mitts, and this is by Devin Joesting. Don't know if that's a man or a woman's name, but I just wrote out the pattern because when you go to Ravelry and click on Optimistic Mitts, it takes you to their website, and it's just a blog post of how to do this. So what I did was I just copied it down. It's a very, very simple pattern, so I thought I would just write it out. So I'm using US 5s or 3.75 millimeter needles for this, And so far I've just got the cuff of the first one done. I'll add a picture here of what it's going to look like, hopefully, when it's done. So yeah, I think that will be a fun project. So I just need to get some more work done on that. And remember to add it to the Bakery Bears Muppet Along Cal. So that's a lot of fun. It's been great seeing everybody's choices of Muppets and finding the colors and everything. It's a really a lot of fun knit along. So continuing to work on that. And also I got started on that project I wanted to mention while I was on a VKN, a virtual knit night with some friends, Ellie and Dave from FON Dye. So it was fun just to work on something fairly mindless while you're visiting during a VKN. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, the next project that I wanted to share with you is a shawl. And this is a design by Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. And of course I have to keep it in my fondant fiber cat bag because Mina made for me, as you saw in the last episode, matching notions bags for these. So here's one of them. Of course I have to include on this project this week. It's a beautiful notions bag that Mina made for me. And of course I'll link her shop and her podcast in my episode notes. So this is a paid for pattern. I've never done any of Mina's patterns before, so this is my first one and I'm loving it. She writes her patterns so well, so much detail, so easy. And this is called the For the Love of Rainbow shawl. And I really wanted to do this one because I knew I had some perfect yarn for this. What I'm using is some yarn that I got to do my vampire shawl last year. And this is some German yarn that I got from Lana Fina is the website name, but the yarn itself is Ade Long, and it's a rainbow colorway. And I've already used some of the colors in here. I'll put a picture of my rainbow vampire shawl here so you can see. It's got such a beautiful long transitioned colorways that it really results in beautiful, beautiful work. So I really wanted to use this in Mina's For the Love of Rainbow shawl because I also wanted to enter this in another cal. It's a rainbow knit along at Suburban Stitcher. So, so far I've been using that and also some ecru that I used on my TARDIS socks that I did a few weeks back. And this is the Briggs & Little Durasport in ecru. And it's 80% wool, 20% nylon. And so these two together I think are resulting in a beautiful shawl. It is just started. I've gotten a fair amount done over the last few weeks. If I can untangle these, okay, there we go. I've got a lot of ends that I'll need to weave in, but I'll leave that for a little bit. So I started with the rainbow yarn, and it started as an orangey yellow, and then it got lighter yellow, and now it's going into the greens. So you can see that beautiful transition is so nice and gentle. It's really beautiful, and I can hardly wait to see the rest of the colors as we go transitioning from the red from the rest. So it'll go from the yellow to the green to blue, purple, and red. So I'm really looking forward to working on this some more. And as I said, Mina's pattern is so beautiful, so easy to follow, and I really love the parts that she has in here with the lace work. It's almost like a lattice section, so I'm just starting another lattice section here. So yep, so that's really coming along well. And as I say, her pattern is so well written. I really enjoy knitting on that. And that I'm using US number 4s or 3.5 millimeter needles. So I think that's all the knitting that I have to share with you today. So now I'd like to share with you some of the spinning that I've done. I haven't got a lot done in the last couple of weeks, but I did do some. And every time that I use my wheel, I'm getting better and better. So I'll insert a picture here of some of the fiber that I'm working with right now. And I'm really pleased that it's a lot more even than my previous attempts, so it's getting there. But the beautiful fiber that I'm using this time is something that I got at Ramwools last year. I got 2 braids of this, 115 grams of each. And what's nice about this is it's 80% merino, 20% silk. So it's very, very soft, so easy to draft out, very, very smooth. So I got this thinking maybe I would make something for hubby. You know, he likes blacks, and this beautiful black and silver highlights in it is very, very pretty. So I don't know what I'm going to make out of it yet. It will depend on the yarn that how much I get, what the thickness is. So we'll see how it turns out spinning wise first, and then I'll decide what I'm actually going to knit it up into. But I thought I would at least share that with you, that's my latest spinning project. Oh, and I got myself another spinning wheel. No, not a big wheel. I got this. This is a beautiful little miniature wheel. These were made by a Quebec artisan called A Nadeau. And these were made as souvenirs in Quebec. And somebody on the Canadian Production Wheel group had posted that he had gotten one as a gift last year. And luckily for me, on the post or on the thread, somebody had also posted some links to some current Kijiji auctions for a few of these, 2 of them. One was I think $30, but then they said, oh, look at this one in Edmonton for $10. And so I emailed the fellow that was selling the one in Edmonton if he would be willing to mail it to Winnipeg, and he said he would. So this little thing I got for $10, and it even moves. The drive wheel moves, the bobbin and the flyer moves. You know, the treadle goes up and down. Like, it's so cute, so well made. I really enjoy it, and I've been having so much fun playing with it. As you can see by this picture, I had to, of course, do a little setting so it looked like it was in a vintage area, even with its own treadle, what they call treadle cat. So I added this little bit of fiber in, obviously a little bit of fiber in that little basket with it. That's actually some locks from Sarah at Pumpkin's Patch Sheep Farm. So those are some of her locks. So yes, I thought this was so cute that it looked a lot like the Canadian production wheel that I have. And that it's, yeah, a real souvenir from Quebec. Kind of like the souvenirs that you can get here that we have, say, for Festival and things like that. We would have Red River carts and things like that. They have the CPWs in Quebec. I believe, as I said, that these are from the 50s, actually. So, yeah, really, really cute. Even has, you know, wooden sea crank on it and a little wooden, obviously it doesn't work, orifice on the front. So really well made. Very, very cute. So obviously, you know, I have room for those kind of wheels. I wouldn't be able to collect real collection of spinning wheels, although some people do. I noticed on the CPW thread and pardon me, the antique wheels threads, that some people do collect wheels and they have all kinds of them. I don't have enough room for that, but maybe if I see a few little miniature wheels, that would be a good collection to have. So that was a lot of fun. So some of the other things that I've acquired these last couple of weeks. Oh, before I go into that, sorry, I wanted to go into what I dyed this past week. I didn't get a lot of dyeing done, but I did do one skein that I wanted to share with you first. And I have a whole basket of goodies here. But first I wanted to share with you this. This is my latest attempt at hand dyeing my own yarn. And this one I'm calling In Nature. It's a skein that I only used 3 colors. I wanted to see what Kangaroo Paw, which was an orange color that I got of Landscapes dyes in our most recent order from them. I wanted to see what it looked like, so I definitely wanted to try this orange color. And so this skein, believe it or not, is just 3 colors. It's the Kangaroo Paw Orange, Sky Blue, and Fern Green. But what I love about what happened when I was dyeing this is all the other colors that ended up being created by a combination of those dyes. And I called it In Nature because it ended up getting some beautiful browns in there. So the sky, obviously sky blue, the green reminded me of grass, and then the browns and oranges just reminded me of trees in the fall. So I'm really pleased with how this turned out, and was really quite surprised how the colors combined. So it was a good experiment to see when you put colors next to each other, how they'll combine and react. So again, this is just Cascade 220 Ecru that I did. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. At first I thought, if it was going to come out too bright, I could over dye this with a darker color and just have little pops of orange, because I thought it would be too strong. But no, I'm really pleased with the way this ended up turning out. It's always a surprise to see, at least for beginners, to see how your yarn dyeing experiments will turn out. It looks so different between what you have in your head, as what you think you're going to get, to how it looks in the pot, and then how it looks wet, and then once you reskein it, then what the final result is. And it will look even more interesting, I think, once it's knit up, to see how it will pattern. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that, even though I only got 1 skein done in the last couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to playing some more with my dyes, and daughter's been having fun playing with hers as well. She's done a few of her own, and we're getting some more dyes from Dharma Trading, the Jacquard dyes, because they have a few colors that we would like to try out, and also mix and match and see how mixing them up in dye lots will affect the colors. So looking forward to even more experimentation. And Valeria, that picture of the mad scientist, I don't know where you got that from, but it was hilarious. Anybody who's on the Ravelry threads, she put in a cartoon picture of a mad scientist that I had mentioned my last episode that I looked like, so I thought that was hilarious. Thank you, Valeria. So that's what I got done dyeing wise the last little while. So yeah, now back to acquisitions. What arrived in the last couple of weeks? Quite a few things. As I mentioned, first I'll go over what I got for Valentine's Day. Hubby gave me a gift certificate, so of course daughter and I had to head over to Wolseley Wool and see what we could find. And she got herself some things, and I got myself some things as well. So, I just will pause here, and I will pull out, because I forgot to get out one of the things that I did pick up. Okay, sorry about that. I knew I was going to forget something. Hubby had given me a gift certificate for Christmas as well. And what I did with that gift certificate was I bought myself the Carbons interchangeable set with the smallest size needles. Now, obviously, there's some missing because I'm using them right now. I had started out knitting using Dreams wood circular needles, and I really love the warmth and feel, the slickness of the Dreams needles. So I got quite a few of those, but when I used the very smallest sizes of the wooden needles, I ended up breaking one of them, unfortunately. And so one of the things with the wooden needles, when they get to the very small sizes, they are a lot more fragile. And so unfortunately I did break one of my needles on a project that I was using. I think it was a sock size needle. So it was very, very thin, almost like a toothpick. So what I wanted to do was try carbons, and I thought starting with the smallest sizes would be great. So what I did was I got 2 pairs of the fixed circulars in the, I believe, 1.5 US size, and those have been great to use for sock knitting. They're warm as well, which is nice. I don't like the coldness of solid metal needles, and so because I really like those Carbons needles, I ended up with hubby's gift certificate from Christmas getting this starter set. And this Carbon starter set from Knitter's Pride is needle sizes 2.5, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which was perfect because I already had the 1.5. So when he gave me another gift certificate for Valentine's Day, I thought this was a great opportunity to get the rest of the needles. So I got the midi set this weekend. And this is sizes 7, 8, 9, and 10. And both sets come with 2 cords. They each have 24-inch and 32-inch cables. So what I did was I also picked up some extra cables, a 60-inch, because I knew I would need that for some longer shawls. I may be using that on the shawl I'm doing, the Mina Makes shawl, or the Mina Phillips shawl. I also got a few of the 40-inch cables, and then I also got a 16-inch cable. And I got this because I know for very small projects it'll be great to use instead of doing magic loop. When I was doing my pink cowl recently, I was using the 24-inch cable, and it's the first time I haven't used magic loop. It was small enough that I was able just to keep on knitting round and round and round without having to worry about, pulling my stitches as in magic loop, pulling them from one side to the other. So that was wonderful. So I thought getting the 16-inch is also great for smaller projects. And I also, daughter found this, the cord connectors, and she got herself a set of Carbons as well. These cord connectors will be great, so now we can interchange all the cord sizes. So it's pretty much limitless on what size we can do now with our Carbons. So I'm so lucky that hubby gave me that gift certificate to Wolseley Wool. So now I'm all set for needles. I've got quite a few of the Dreams needles, which I love. Like I say, the warmth of the wood, but also a full set of the Carbons, which is wonderful. So I'm very, very lucky. So while we were at Wolseley Wool, of course, I couldn't leave without getting some yarn as well. So I treated myself to some. And it's so funny the way this happened. A few days before we went, I received an email from Wolseley Wool. I'm part of their email subscription, and they were mentioning they had some new yarn that had just come in. And what's funny about the timing is it's the Downton Abbey yarn, and I had just finished watching a whole bunch of Downton Abbey episodes here in North America. The last season of Downton Abbey started in January. So every Sunday night, my PVR was recording Downton so that I could watch it. And unfortunately, one week, it recorded the wrong show. It wasn't Downton Abbey, but I don't think it was the PVR's fault. I believe it was PBS's fault, because the title on the recording actually did say Downton Abbey, but it was a completely different show. So unfortunately, I missed a very important episode of the season. So I knew that I could watch Downton Abbey online. I didn't really want to. I wanted to watch it on PBS, but really didn't give me much choice. I wanted to be able to see that missing episode since there are so few. A lot goes on in each episode. So I found it online and watched that episode. And then, of course, there was only a couple more episodes left, and I was knitting while I was watching, and watched another, and then another, and then I ended up just watching the whole season, the Christmas special. So I ended up watching all of Downton Abbey. So I thought it was very timely that Wolseley Wool had Downton Abbey yarn in. So I had to try it out. I thought it was very fortuitous that they had that. So they had two of the collections in. One is called Lady Sybil, and the other was called Matthew. Two wonderful characters. I won't do any spoilers, but it's beautiful. I was surprised though that it's mostly acrylic yarn, but I'm not a yarn snob, so it's very, very soft and very beautiful colors. So I thought I would try out at least a couple of the Lady Sybil, and they are 80% acrylic, 10% mohair, and 10% polyamide. Now the Matthew versions are different colorways, obviously, and there's like teals and blues and pinks and everything in Lady Sybil, and gray, really pretty gray. Matthew's is a thicker yarn. It's also acrylic. I think it's 80% acrylic, 20% wool though, the Matthew one. And it also had some heathered colors as well. So I may be trying that out in the future. But I thought these two would really make something pretty together. So I really like those colors. This one is dusky mauve. And this one is kind of an ecru color. And it is called Cloud Paper. So very, very pretty. So it was great watching the end of Downton Abbey. Very sad to see it end. I've been watching it since the beginning. It really is one of my favorite shows. So I thought it was a great way to finish off the series by getting some yarn. And I'll make something special out of those. So that is what I treated myself to. Let's see, what else did I get? That was it at Wolseley Wool. We also checked out Ram Wools. Here in Winnipeg, we only have two yarn stores, but they are very close to each other. They're both downtown, but it takes about half an hour to get to both. So if we're going on a Saturday, we'll hit both of them because Ram Wools isn't open on a Sunday. And it's a co-op. And the reason why I wanted to go there is I signed up for a swap in Fiber Trek podcast group, and part of the swap package should be something local to you, a yarn or a fiber. And so I checked at Wolseley Wool first, and they didn't have any, unfortunately, locally sourced yarns. So I thought maybe Ram Wools would because they're a co-op. And they didn't have anything from Manitoba, but they did have something from Saskatchewan, our next door province, that was spun here and dyed here in Manitoba. So I thought I'd share that with you. It was very interesting. This is something that I've never tried before. This is 100% Dorset wool. And as I say, it's from a sheep farm in Saskatchewan, and it is dyed and spun by Cloud9 Fiberworks. And it is called North Sea. And it's two different dye lots of the same color, but I'll probably trade one and then use one myself for something special. It's very, very soft, squishy, really nice, and I've never used Dorset wool before, so I'm looking forward to trying some of that out. So hopefully, in the future I can find maybe at Fiber Festival or something, some yarn that I'll put away that's from some of our local farms in Manitoba for future swaps. It would be nice to have something really local. So I treated myself to that. Let's see, what arrived in the mail was something interesting. Some Bear fiber. Now I got this from an Etsy seller who's located in Ontario. And I wanted to get some Bear fiber just so that daughter and I can try dyeing our own fiber. I do have some fiber that I'm probably going to over dye that's a very light colored colorway that I'd like to maybe do something a little more dramatic with. But I also wanted to get some Bear fiber, and this is 100% BFL. And I ordered a whole pound, so I split it in half and gave daughter half. And so this is the rest of it for me that I'm going to try. And so I'll split that up into smaller sections, I'm sure, and try my hand at fiber dyeing. So it'll be interesting to see, my own dyed and then my own spun BFL. It's very, very soft. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. And let's see, I'm just checking my notes so I don't forget anything. Oh, something else that daughter and I, when we were out, I picked up. I wanted to get something to organize all of my project bags. Until now, I've just been kind of shoving them under my sewing desk here, and have bags that I'm not using on the bottom and then bags with projects in them on top. But it wasn't the best solution, so I was thinking of utilizing my space in my small room here a little more efficiently, and maybe getting some hooks for the back of my door to the room. And we were looking at Winners and places like that for some over-the-door hooks. And then daughter came up with the idea of getting this shoe holder, and then would the project bags be able to be held in them? I wasn't too sure, but it wasn't very expensive, so I thought if it doesn't work, I'll use it for shoes. But I'll insert a picture here, and it does actually work. I just folded up my project bags and inserted them into each of the pockets. I've also put in some Notions bags, and also some my DPN holders that I got from Little Bobbins Knits. So it's wonderful that I can organize all my bags this way, and I can just pick and choose what I want to use next. So that was a wonderful solution, and it's not so clangy. It doesn't have the hard metal hooks that would probably bang up against the back of the door. It's nice and quiet. And any larger bags that I have, I just throw on the handle of the door, kind of below and beside it. So that was great to get that as an organizer. So if anybody has smaller bags, for the larger bags obviously it wouldn't fit, but for the medium and smaller bags, they fold up and fit in those pockets just perfectly. So hope that helps somebody else out there organize their bags. Let's see. The last thing that I wanted to share with you that just came this morning was the Canada Post delivery from Dusseldorf, Germany. And 9 days ago, I went on the Adelong website. I'll link that website in my notes to get some more of the Adelong Artistic 8/2 size yarn. And what I love about this yarn is its long color transitions. Don't know if I mentioned putting a picture. If I didn't in the beginning, I will put a picture in of my shawl that I did before with the long color transitions. So that was their rainbow color, and this time I got their black and white colorway. So it's from Adelong, and this is about 1,200 meters of it's 100% wool from Estonia. It's 290 grams. But what I love about this is the long transition from dark black to grays, like a charcoal gray, lighter gray, and then a very light silvery color. And I wanted to especially get this for a project that I want to put on the needles very soon. And that is another shawl, and it's by Sally Jane Cameron, Pink-Haired Girl, and it is her Game of Thrones inspired shawl called Winter is Coming. Now this is a paid for pattern. She did have a discount going on recently, so I took advantage of that and ordered this pattern, and I'm really excited about starting this, and I think it'll look so great in all of the blacks and grays and whites. So I'm looking forward to getting that on the needles. So lots of fun. So I think that's all the acquisitions that I have to share with you. The last thing that I wanted to mention today was the winner of the Love You More sock pattern drawing. My last episode, I mentioned that Sarah Lozzie at the Pearls of Color podcast was very generous in donating a copy of her pattern, her latest sock pattern called Love You More Socks, to one of our viewers, or one of our Ravelry group members. You have to be a member of the group to have entered and to be eligible. So what I did was I started a thread in our group, And Sarah and I both had the first couple of posts in that thread, but I used the random.org generator to generate a winner from entries 4 to 19, and the winner was number 14, Rainbow Ange. So congratulations, I think it's Angie, for winning that pattern. Let me know when you see this, and I will let Sarah know to gift you that pattern. Sarah has some wonderful patterns in her shop. I asked all of the entrants to just go visit and let me know which was their favorite of her patterns. She has quite a few to choose from, both free and paid for, so I will make sure I link her her shop in my notes as well if you'd like to take a look at what she's done. So Sarah, thank you so much for your generosity in donating that pattern, and also thank you so much for the very kind comments that you gave my podcast on your last episode. You're very, very sweet, so thank you so much. So let's see. I think that is it. As I mentioned earlier, at the end of this episode, I'll insert a few pictures of my trip to Skywalker Ranch back in 2005. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you'll join me again next time in 2 weeks' time in my Victorian studio. So until then, have a wonderful time knitting, crafting, whatever makes you happy, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.